So after 8 years of working as a professional Android developer, I transitioned into AI engineering. And in this video, I want to share with you why I did the transition, what I learned along the way, and whether you as an Android or mobile developer should also consider transitioning. So hi, I'm Lucas, and many developers know me as the coroutines and flow guy, since I have the most popular Udemy course on that subject with more than 12,000 students. And also all of my videos here on YouTube are about Kotlin coroutines and flow on Android. What few people know is that I haven't worked as an Android developer for more than 3 years now. Why? Because in early 2023, I transitioned into backend development. So let's first talk about why I transitioned. And well, that was a bit of a coincidence, to be honest. So let me explain. So in early 2023, I was looking for a new freelancing project as an Android developer. However, when I talked to a friend who was working on a team I had worked with years ago, he told me that they weren't looking for an Android developer, but for a backend developer. The team's architecture looked like this. It was an e-commerce business with an Android and an iOS app. And these apps had to communicate with different backend services, such as a product availability service, a payment service, and an order service. However, as it is best practice nowadays, the native apps were not communicating directly with these different kinds of services. But instead, they talked with a single API, which we called gateway, but this is also known as a backend for frontend. Such a gateway has multiple benefits, with the most important being that important business logic should be contained once in the gateway instead of twice in each native app. Also, it's much easier and faster to deploy a hotfix for the backend than to release a new app update. And as I've said before, from 2017 to 2019, I was actually working in that team as an Android developer. And the gateway was also maintained by my team, the mobile team. However, since we didn't have a dedicated backend developer in our team, every mobile developer had the responsibility to work on the gateway from time to time. So I already had some technical knowledge about the gateway and also about backend development. So jumping forward to 2023, when I was looking for a new project, the manager of this team decided to hire a dedicated backend developer that just should work on this gateway. And he asked me if I was available. And since I was available, I thought for a couple of days and then I agreed. But why did I decide to transition into backend development? Well, 2023 was around the time when Jetpack Compose was becoming increasingly popular. And while many Android developers were really excited about this UI development revolution, I simply wasn't. I realized that I don't really enjoy building user interfaces that much anymore. What I enjoy instead is everything that is behind the UI. So the architecture, the testing, the communication with the backend, and asynchronous work with coroutines and flow, of course. And where can I work with all of that without needing to build UIs? Right, in backend development. And that was the main reason why I transitioned. So what did I learn from this transition? Well, when I reflect on it, I'm really happy about it from a career perspective. There are so many more backend projects out there because nearly every company has backend services, while only a subset builds native Android apps. As a backend developer, you also have more what I call career flexibility. And what I mean by that is that it's easier to transition into other roles. As an Android developer, your career path is more specialized, making it harder to transition into other software engineering roles. As an Android developer, you mostly have platform-specific skills, like knowledge about the Android platform itself or the Android UI system. And while these skills are really valuable for an Android developer, they are not really applicable in other roles. As a backend developer, on the other hand, you need more general skills like knowledge about APIs and databases, authentication and security, distributed systems, cloud knowledge, and system design. So for example, as a backend developer, you will also get in touch with a lot of DevOps tools and concepts. And if that's your thing, then it's easy to specialize and transition into becoming a DevOps engineer. You also need to work with cloud providers. And if you enjoy that, you could specialize in becoming a cloud engineer. Also, when we go back to the slide of the team I've worked with, you can see that as a backend developer, you have better knowledge of the services and components in your organization's architecture. As a mobile developer, at least that's how it was in our team, you only need to know how to communicate with the gateway. In contrast, a backend developer must be familiar with all the services in the company and know when to interact with each of them. So the domain knowledge you acquire makes it easier to transition into an architecture role, for instance, or, God forbid, even into a management role. But don't get me wrong, being an Android developer is a wonderful job, and it's really a joy to build nice, user-friendly mobile applications. And if you truly enjoy it, then please stay an Android developer. However, from a pure career perspective, I think that backend development has brought me multiple benefits. Also, as a backend developer, you usually gain more domain knowledge about critical services, like the payment service in our case, which makes it much harder for you to be replaced. But after 3 years, I got fired anyway, since the service our company was working on got shut down pretty unexpectedly. So I was standing there without a project again, wondering what I should do next. One part of me was really sad, because I genuinely loved the team and the product we were building. But another part of me was also excited, because as I've mentioned earlier, my first Udemy course had been quite successful. And now I finally had the time to focus on creating new courses again. In fact, since beginning of this year, 2026, I'm working as a full-time course creator again. And initially, my plan was to create courses around how to become a backend developer. However, after starting with the first course about Spring Boot, something didn't feel right. I felt that I wouldn't sell enough courses on the topic, since there are already so many courses out there and many developers already have the knowledge that my courses would teach. So I needed a new field, one that is rather new, highly in demand, and for which not many people yet have the skills. So I did another round of brainstorming and research, and suddenly AI engineering appeared, which is all about building applications on top of large language models. Initially, I dismissed this new field because I thought that an AI engineer was just a fancy name for someone who knows how to use the OpenAI API. But I was really wrong there, because there is much more to it. Because while it's easy to build demos and prototypes that integrate LLMs, bringing them to production is what AI engineering is all about. So I would say that AI engineering is about 80% classical backend development, combined with 20% of actual AI engineering. For the 80% of backend development, you, of course, need to know how APIs and databases work. There are some DevOps skills that you need to master, like Docker for instance, and you need to know how to work with cloud providers like AWS. The AI engineering layer on top is about new concepts like working with the non-deterministic nature of LLMs, context engineering, knowledge about evaluations and RAG, and agent frameworks like LangChain. One of the main reasons that led me to do yet another transition to AI engineering was the LinkedIn Jobs on the Rise report from 2026, which states that the AI engineer is the #1 fastest growing job role right now. This makes sense because everybody is talking about how AI will replace lots of white-collar jobs. But who is going to develop all the required automations? Right, the AI engineer. So AI engineering is probably one of the most future-proof fields in software development. And so I did another transition, now from backend into AI engineering, and after more than half a year of studying this field in depth, today I can proudly announce that my new course, AI Engineering Fundamentals, Build Real LLM Apps in Python, is now available on Udemy. I've linked the course in the video description, together with the biggest discount that is possible here on Udemy. So now you're probably wondering if you should transition into backend development or AI engineering as well. As I've said before, if you really love Android development, then I think you should stick to it and do what you love most. However, if you're more interested in general software development concepts and you want more career flexibility, more job opportunities, and a role that is more future-proof, I think you should definitely consider a transition. Now, I'm fully aware that this kind of transition is really hard currently. Right now, the job market is pretty tough. And if you apply for backend development jobs, you compete with lots of developers who already have many years of experience in that field. However, I have 2 ideas about how you could make your transition a success. The first idea is to do what I did, to look for opportunities within your current company. Maybe there are some backend services you could start working on to gain valuable backend skills. The second idea is to transition into AI engineering instead of backend development. I think that as an Android developer, it's much easier to get a job as an AI engineer. Why? Well, that's because the skill set required for an AI engineer is so new that not many people have it yet. So when applying for AI engineering jobs, I think that companies don't care so much about the years of experience in that field. They want to see that you have actually built some AI engineering projects so that they know that you possess these new skills. I understand that moving from Android to AI engineering can be a significant leap. Therefore, I have designed my new course to support you through this transition in the most effective and smooth way possible. The course condenses everything I learned this year into 7 hours of content. And the goal is to teach you everything you need so that you can start building your own AI engineering projects as fast as possible. So if you want to take a deeper look, please check out the link in the description. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, because I will release some very interesting videos about AI engineering in the upcoming weeks. So thanks for listening, have a nice day, and see you next time.